5, 4, 3, 2, 1. My dad had a theory about life. It didn't matter how hard you worked, how many hours you put in, or how badly you wanted to achieve something. At the end of the day, success came down to one thing: luck. And growing up, watching other people get the internships I wanted, land the jobs I dreamed about, build the lives I was killing myself trying to reach, he'd just shrug and say, "That's luck, Muhammad. You just have to get lucky." As much as I loved my dad, I really hated that answer, because it meant I could do everything right and still lose. And even worse, if luck did show up for me, I'd probably not even notice the opportunity and miss it completely. For me, luck was my greatest weakness. I had the drive, I had the work ethic, the ambition, but in my eyes, I was never at the right place at the right time. So let me tell you about the time I stopped waiting for luck and accidentally became a meme in the process. Junior year of college, so basically last year, I was drowning in rejections. I remember sitting in my room at 1 a.m. staring at my laptop screen where there was a rejection email from a no-name company in the middle of Ohio, a place I had applied to the day before. And I remember thinking to myself, if I can't even get this, what chance do I have anywhere else? At that point, I was done waiting for things to magically change. So when UTA's engineering career fair came around, I decided to try something different. I had already collected somewhere around my 400th rejection, so I thought maybe trying my luck in person would feel different. Maybe if they could actually see me, talk to me, maybe I could get, well, lucky. So I dragged myself there, walked around for hours, pushed my way to the front of booths, and fought through crowds just to get 30 seconds with a recruiter. By the time I was heading out, I had collected over 20 rejections. 20 rejections to my face in one day. Some companies didn't even let me finish talking. They just point at the QR code on their table, say apply online, and look past me to the next person in line. At that point, I was exhausted, frustrated, and ready to go home and shower. I know, a CS major taking a shower, spooky, ooh. But as I was leaving, one of my friends stopped me. He was in an organization we were both part of, and he wanted to film a quick reel for their social media. Just me talking about how the career fair went. I told him no at first, because he kept asking, and I started feeling bad, so I said, sure, why not? What could ever happen? I stood there looking completely defeated while he recorded me. Then he let me go home finally afterwards. What I didn't know was that him filming that 30-second reel would quite literally change my life. When he got home, he added some captions, how I'd gotten over 20 rejections, how I kept getting told to apply online, how I printed 30 resumes and only 2 recruiters actually took one. He threw a trending song on it, posted it to Instagram, and called it a day. At first, the video got 100 views, then 500, then 1,000, then 10,000, and then all of a sudden, it just jumped straight up to 500,000. And the next day, it was up to 1.5 million. The reel had gone viral, tens of millions of views viral, not because I was talented or smart or because I had built something impressive. It was because, in my eyes at that time, I was a failure. Someone who couldn't land a single interview while everyone around me was debating which company to intern at. The comments were brutal. People were making fun of me, picking apart my appearance, going in on every little thing about me, and it didn't stay on social media either. It spread across my entire university. My face became a meme, and my friends started calling me the face of unemployment. As funny as I found the whole situation, I genuinely wanted to delete everything and transfer schools. But here's the funny thing about opportunities. They always show up in the weirdest ways. As the reel kept spreading, something unexpected started happening. People recognized me. At events, strangers would walk up and say, "Hey, you're that guy from that Instagram reel." And I would die inside every single time, but they kept talking. They'd share their own rejection stories, tell me about their struggles, their defeats. This humiliating moment, for me, had become an icebreaker I never asked for, and one that I couldn't escape either. A week or two later, a well-known CS social media influencer reposted the same reel and stitched a video where he redid my resume. It blew up again, more views, more comments, more people calling me the unemployment guy. At that point, the name was permanent. So I made a choice. And like, you know what they say, if you can't beat them, join them. I started fully embracing the nickname, making jokes about it before anyone else could. When I met people for the first time, I would bring it up first, just to get it out of the way. If you met me for the first time, you'd laugh at the story. If you had known me for a while, you'd want to strangle me because you would constantly hear me talk about it, as I could generally not stop bringing it up. But these conversations, the ones I forced myself to have, even when I wanted to disappear, those opened doors for me. People remembered me. And more importantly, they trusted me. Because I wasn't pretending to have it all figured out. I was just someone who was struggling just like them. And somehow, through my conversations with people, I became an officer for one org, then the vice president for another, then the president for another, then a director. People were asking me to lead projects, connect them with others, and help organize events. The narrative started shifting into my favor, from that unemployed dude to someone helpful, to someone who could actually code, to someone reliable, to someone who wins hackathons. And slowly, my friends stopped calling me the face of unemployment, and they just started calling me Mr. President. And somewhere in that process, I changed too. Not in some overnight epiphany kind of way. It was slow, messy. There was no moment where I looked in the mirror and thought, yes, I have grown as a person. It was more like gradually, without even realizing it. I stopped dreading those conversations. I stopped rehearsing a fake version of myself before walking into a room. I stopped pretending I had it all figured out, because clearly the entire internet had already seen that I did not. I used to think personal growth meant getting better grades, learning another programming language, or finally getting 500 connections on LinkedIn, which, by the way, does absolutely nothing for you. But it turns out the real growth was a lot less glamorous. It was learning how to sit in embarrassment and not run from it, how to own a failure so completely that it stopped having power over you. And honestly, that skill, that weird, uncomfortable skill, ended up being worth more than anything I learned in a classroom. I started getting invited to hackathons and conferences. Companies reached out wanting to host events and speaker panels. People I'd never met already knew my name. Hell, I was even president of UTA for one day. And now here I am giving a TED Talk at my university. And all of this isn't because of a reel that went viral, but because of what came after it. And look, I'm not going to stand here and pretend it was all smooth from here. There were still bad days, still moments where I'd get passed over for something and I'd feel this exact same sting that I felt junior year of college. But the difference now was that I had proof that my lowest moments had led somewhere. So when things got hard again, instead of spiraling, I just think, damn, it's going to be really nice when I get that first job offer. Which brings me to the part of this talk where I get to say something I honestly never thought I would say. I am not unemployed anymore. Right now, I have about 5 job offers sitting in my inbox. 5. The biggest problem in my life right now is figuring out which one to choose. And it's so funny that the face of unemployment finally got employed. But here's the thing. I'm not telling you this just to flex on y'all. I'm not trying to go job offer for job offer. And I'm not here to tell you to put the fries in the bag either. I'm telling you this because I need you to understand where I started. Because the gap between getting rejected by a company in the middle of Ohio at 1 a.m. and having 5 offers in your inbox, that gap isn't something that's filled by luck. It's filled with a lot of uncomfortable moments that I forced myself to stay in instead of running from. And right now, I know there's someone in this room, or maybe someone watching this on YouTube later, sitting exactly where I was, staring at their laptop at some ridiculous hour, reading another rejection email, doing the math on how many they've gotten this week, feeling like everyone around them is moving forward while they're just, well, unlucky. And I'm here to tell you that if that's you, well, you're not unlucky, you're not broken, and you're not behind, and you're definitely not a failure. You're just in the part of the story where you're building yourself up for that satisfying conclusion. And as much as I hated it, I used to believe what my dad said, that it all comes down to luck. And I get why he believed that. It's comforting, because if it's luck, then it's not your fault. But the flip side of that belief is that it also takes all the power away from you. And I refuse to hand my power away like that anymore. Because here's what I actually think luck is. Luck isn't some kind of invisible force that like taps you on the shoulder and then all of a sudden, well, I guess you just win the jackpot. Luck is what happens when you've made yourself impossible to ignore. When you've been so genuinely yourself, failures and all, that the right people can't help but notice you. You don't find luck, you become the kind of person that luck can find. And the wild part, the failures help more than anything else. Because nobody connects over a highlight reel. No one walks up to a stranger and says, wow, I just saw you have an OpenAI offer. Let's be friends now. But they will absolutely walk up and say, hey, I saw that reel about you. I've been in your shoes before as well. Vulnerability is the most underrated networking tool, and it's also completely free. And honestly, I've never liked how casually people blame their lives on luck, or how easily they say good luck like that's the thing that decides everything. To me, luck is what people lean on when they don't have the skills to succeed in life in the first place. Your failures aren't things to hide. They're the most important things about you. They're what make you real. They're what make people actually want to root for you. And I just think you shouldn't have to go viral just to learn that. Thank you. Just walk upstairs, Joe.